Yeah, you just gotta. You ready, Tony?
I'm ready. Here we go.
What's going on, buddy? It's been a bit of a minute.
It's been a minute since we did a collab like this.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, things have been really crazy, actually. How about you?
You know, things have been crazy. I changed my niche around, as you know. Like
Yes, I did notice that.
I've been focusing a lot more on tech.
Mm-hmm. How's that been? You've been liking it?
I've been liking it. It's been a lot more comfortable. And don't get me wrong, I like photography. I will always love photography, but it's very limiting when you talk about it for YouTube. Because everybody and their brother
Yes.
is a photographer.
That's kind of has easy. Yeah. And honestly, like the content is very sparse for that reason because you're forced to follow a trend. And that's not always the funnest part because it's like, oh, it has to be a high adventure outside stuff. Like that's all anyone really ever cares about, it seems like.
And then you have big time creators who take over the space, like Peter McKinnon. And I'm not bashing Peter because Peter's an awesome guy.
Yeah, for sure.
You have him. You have Casey Neistat, Matt Hapuja. You know, these guys that have just been like, they know.
They dominate.
They dominate and they know how to get the clicks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I changed my niche around. I still will do some photography from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, you and I, we've talked about this off camera that we have to do for it.
Yeah, I remember the last one we were talking about is like capturing like the 2000s nostalgia.
Yeah.
And seeing how you can kind of like capitalize on that, I guess, a little bit.
And then also like maybe just going on like hikes and just like taking some photos and just talking around like a campfire, like, oh, well,
yeah,
I like this photo. I like this one.
Yeah, kind of make it into like a
vlog.
Yeah, like a vlog. I'm trying to remember like a Mr. Tony's neighborhood.
Anyway, so what's going on, man? Like,
yeah, well, you know, you beckoned the call. Someone was kind of asking you like, hey, so when are you gonna check out the new music? And so of course I was like, new music? Yes. Well, let me tell you something. We all know RM. We also know him as Namjoon. He put out a full album, and he decided to get really, really interesting with it. It's very introspectional, but like the weird thing about it is like he's written it in such an interesting way. A lot of people have like kind of likened a lot of the music that he's written for this new album to be like very similar to like Frank Zappa from like the 60s and 70s. So it's pretty crazy. And so with that being said, the interesting thing is he put out this new album that has some interesting topics and some interesting titles. So but today, a couple of the titles that we will be focusing on will be Lost and I think the other one is called Come Around Again or something like that. I forget which one it was. But in this, we truly believe that he wanted to troll. I think he wanted to troll. And so he has 2 songs on here. One of them is called Groin and one of them is called Nuts.
What?
Yeah, I'm not even joking. So like a lot of us actually think that he did this because
you in the BTS army?
Yeah, we definitely. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of ARMY about this. But the interesting thing is that because he's like decided to name this, we totally think this is a total troll. Because of course, anything that BTS puts out there, it goes like immediately number 1. So like, of course, when he puts out a song, it's like, oh, the top song of the day, or you know, like RM's Nuts is trending number 1. RM's Groin is trending number 1. So we totally think that it was a total drag for that, like on purpose.
It kind of reminds me of that Mr. Beast bar, that D's Nuts.
Yes, exactly. Exactly like that. So yeah, we're going to start off today. I think we should do Lost first. I think that's what we have queued up.
We have Come Back to Me.
Oh, let's do that then first. Yeah, that's totally fine. But before we do this, I'm going to say, I'm going to have you watch these videos, the music videos, and I want to give your interpretation, and then probably what is known as like the widely accepted interpretation, I guess, in a sense. Not that there's any like wrong interpretation, but just kind of more or less what people think it most likely is.
I'm a little nervous, I'm not going to lie.
You should be.
All right, I guess ready or not, here we go.
I'm just kidding.
We put it on full screen for everyone.
Yep, indeed.
He's so serious.
Oh, Tony, hold on.
What's up?
Tony,
What's up?
put on the captions. Put on the captions.
Probably a good.
They actually have it in full. Yeah, they have it in full English.
Okay,
there we go.
His face right there just reminds me of the Heath Ledger "Why So Serious."
Yeah.
Why so serious?
Pushing the cigarette away. Oh my gosh.
I told you I'm fine tonight, staying good. Spring's always been here, I will sleep in her eyes. Come back to me like you used to do. Be what you be, I will roll you to moon. I forgot the hour, I don't wanna know about the hour. I forgot the shower, 세수할 시간도 아까워. You don't have to be the anything you say. Try not to be, there's something in this say. Come back to me like you used to. Now I could see what a life is about. I told you I'm fine tonight, stay good. Spring's always been here, I will sleep in her eyes. I see you come back to me. I see you come back to me. You are my pain divine. You are my pain divine. Get to the divine. So far. I see you come back to me. I forgot the hour, I don't wanna know about the hour. I forgot the shower, 세수할 시간도 아까워. You don't have to be the anything you say. Try not to be, there's something in this say. I told you I'm fine tonight, staying good. Spring's always been here, I will sleep in her eyes. I see you come back to me. I see you come back to me. You are my pain divine. You are my pain divine. Get to the divine. So far. I see you come back to me. Streets always been without sleep in her eyes. I told you I'm finding out, stay good. Streets always been without sleep in her eyes.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's your first thoughts come to mind when you see this?
To me, it's kind of hard to put into words. Because I've seen situations like this, like with family, with friends, and with people I know, where like they have arguments with their significant other, their spouse, and I think in my mind like, why do these people stay with them? But then I think in my mind like, and then I see how they kind of reconvene later on, and you can see that they actually do care about each other. And I mean, like I'm no dating expert,
I'm
but
not either.
I've always said this to people. And I say, nothing good comes from arguing. It's when people come back afterwards and say how they felt. That's when people start to grow closer and they start to gain more trust.
Yeah.
And so you could see that, there were times when his wife was arguing with him. She's throwing clothes at him, throwing all sorts of crap at him.
Yeah.
But then you see later on that she was like trying to like resolve the whole situation so they could go back to being happy again.
Yeah. It's a bit of an interesting thing because I had a similar thought process to that too. And so from what I've kind of understood, what most people have kind of interpreted it as is more of like how people perceive you. Mm-hmm. So the one thing that I should say is that the album itself is called Right Place, Wrong Person. And so like basically each of these situations that we see here is basically like when it's the wrong person at the right time and the right person in the wrong time. So like it's all a perception of how we see him. So like for example, we saw him in the crib and he looks up and he sees his parents. It's because it's like the idea is like your parents will always see you as like the baby, right? They always see you as that kid. And then it's like your bros always kind of see as that person who goes out and hangs out and kind of ignores all responsibility. And then it's like the wife who, always expects you to be home and hanging out and doing all this stuff, and then there's the dating aspect of it. Like, so basically it's kind of like the idea of like whatever your reality is, like wherever you're at, it could be a place of like wrong place, right time, or like right person, wrong time. And so basically it's all dealing with perception. It's kind of what I've understood. And then kind of at the very end, it's like when he actually has right person, right time. And that's why he enters into the room. So
that's a lot to take in.
I know, right? That's crazy.
A lot to take in. Man, these K-pop artists, they are very philosophical, aren't they?
Yeah, especially Namjoon. Like he's crazy. I guess this is like also in reference. I think it's this one or the next one that we do called Lost. It's based on. I think there's like some influences from a book that's called The Midnight Library or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it's called. That plays with a lot of these kind of same ideas.
Well, going back to what you said, like being in the right place with the right time with the right person. That's essential. You and I, we've talked, and we've been friends for over basically 10 years now, which feels
actually it's probably close to like 20 now, bro.
Oh my gosh, it just dawned on me right after that. Right after I said, like, wait, no, 10 years. Like, no, this is more than 20. This is more like 20 years.
About 20 years because we met in like 05, 06.
Yeah. And we both have shared our frustrations with each other about like girls that we're going after.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so basically in a sense though, it's kind of an interesting theme because I think it's a good reflection of like people's perception of us or of him, and then like his perception backwards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting situation how that all works out because honestly, and it's almost kind of like what we were talking about right before we started recording in a lot of senses, where it's like, our perception of like how we saw you know, people back in the past, like we were talking about a couple of friends and like girls that we were interested in, and now we look back, we're like, that was the wrong person and the wrong time. So it's kind of just it's a bit of an interesting observation.
Dude, I'm not gonna say who, and I'm not gonna say which experience, but you know, there was a girl that I went after a few times, and you're just like, dude, she's not a good person. I'm like, I don't know why you're crazy for this girl. Like, she's not a good person.
Yeah.
And then and I feel like when I finally let go of that, it was like a weight lifted off your shoulders. You're like, oh, thank heavens, he moved.
You know, honestly, I think it was also a weight off of your shoulders too, though, because I think a lot of times we get put into those, and it's like, we get really blind. Like, I'll admit, like the very first girl that I ever dated, there was a lot of good stuff that happened there, but to the outside eye, it's like, bro, you got to get out of this.
Yeah,
and I was blind. Wrong
and
person.
I'm glad that RM shows at the very end that he's with the right person, he's happy, and that's the goal that everyone has.
Yeah, I think there's a part of it that the one thing that I always know about like doing BTS stuff is that the biggest thing always is forever and will be is kind of like, first, make sure that you are the right person for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you love yourself. Make sure that, you know, you're in a good headspace before you start, you know. Yeah.
Oh no, for sure. And I used to tell that to people. I'm like, in the singles congregation that I was a part of, I'm like, look, if you're looking for this certain kind of girl, become that person that you're looking for, and then you'll find that right person.
Yeah.
And there's
you have to love yourself.
Exactly. There were so many times when people, and I was about to say that, I'm like, there's so many times when people in the singles congregation, they didn't love themselves and they didn't understand why it wasn't working out. I just wanted to just kind of shake them and go like, there's a reason that this isn't working out right now.
Yeah. And, you know, I think the other thing that is about loving yourself is I think sometimes we don't know when we don't love ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's one thing that is really cool about this group is because I think this is actually something that I'll be covering on my channel here in a couple months in August, where there's something that's called basically BTS's universe, where it's basically the whole collection of like what they have lined up to like learn how to love yourself, learn to love others, and then learn to like all that other stuff. And so like, I'm pretty excited for it, but you know, the fact that there's a group or artists out there that are like, no, we're going to push out like how to learn how to love yourself and like put out instructional music basically on how to do it is really cool.
Well, and I think that's important, you know, even, you know, if I was to talk about the cinematography of this as a videographer, when you deal, like I've seen this a lot, like in movies where people didn't have good chemistry, you can see that. And you can always see that, like, and so like, and that's one thing I really like about these kind of videos is that like they don't just pick some random person off the street to say, okay, well, you're gonna come do this music video with this big time K-pop artist. Like they look thoroughly through, and they try to make sure they match up with, so that the body language matches up, and they can play off each other, and that they have good chemistry.
Actually, it's interesting that you say that because everyone that's in this music video are like some of the most critically acclaimed actors and actresses. Like I think the one where she was like throwing the clothes at him, that's like one of the top actresses in all of Korea, if I remember correctly. And yeah.
Like, I mean, as a videographer, you try to capture good moments, but there's only so much you can hide because cameras tell the tale, whether it's good or bad. They can. People will be able to
cannot hide from that, not at all.
We both have talked about movies where we've talked about how the actors and actresses had bad chemistry, and I thought in my mind, like, what do you think? What were these directors thinking, casting these people?
Well, you know, a lot of times that happens because it's like they want the star power more than chemistry.
Yeah, I know. Well, Aaron, what are your thoughts on this?
For me personally, one thing that I like, and I kind of discussed this on my channel already, so I'm kind of a little, I guess, ahead of the game in that sense. But for me, the interesting thing is about this is like, we can reflect this onto us for sure. Like we know we've been in these situations, but like in reality, we talk about how popular BTS is. Like, obviously, that comes with a lot of pressure and being like really, really popular artists. But for him specifically, RM, I mean, he is the person who had to do all of the press stuff. So he's the one who would do all the speaking on talk shows like Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. He's the one who gave the speeches at, the UN. He's the one that did it all over in Korea. He is their spokesperson. So in this album, it kind of lets him cut loose and be able to say, like, this is what it's like for me. And that's what's kind of interesting about these two videos that we're doing today, is because it kind of covers a little bit more of the, I would say, like, a little bit more of the sadder, darker part of it all, because he never really could be himself. He had to be the representative.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting to see that, like, when people take the reins off of themselves, what are they going to create? And so to see, like, what he's created with this album is, like, at first you're like, oh, this is really weird, but then you realize, oh, there's a reason for it, though.
Yeah. At first, it was weirding me out a little. I'm not gonna lie, and then I started going, okay, this makes sense now.
Yeah,
I like that these music videos always tell a story.
Yeah, it's true. And if I remember, even the director is like one of their top directors in Korea as well. So talk about someone who could put the team together. But again, you're going to see a little bit of the same style of storytelling, but for something different for Lost.
Okay.
So I think maybe we should move on to Lost so we can see what you think about that.
Well, we're going to do that in another video. So, Lost Nation, we will see you in the next
the next video.